So let's talk about why discipline beats motivation every single time. Now, this isn't about inspiration or hype. This is about the mental physics that separate the people who execute under pressure from those who just don't. Let's get into the analysis.
We all think of motivation as the fuel for getting things done. It's that exciting burst of energy, right? But look at this. It's totally unreliable. It fluctuates, it's tied to your emotions, and it runs out. Discipline, though, that's completely different. It's strategic, it's a structure you build, a system that runs automatically, whether you feel like it or not.
And that really brings us to the core question here, doesn't it? We've all seen this play out. You have these high performers who just deliver day in and day out, no matter what. And then you have everyone else who rides this roller coaster of productivity that just completely stalls the second that initial excitement fades. So what's the difference? What do they know that the rest of us don't?
All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. We're breaking it down into 6 parts. We'll start with the core signal, then look at the pattern it creates. We'll see how it plays out in the game, understand the cost of ignoring it, define the edge it gives you, and then we'll wrap up with some tough questions about your own mental physics.
Okay, first up, the signal. The biggest mistake people make is thinking discipline is some kind of raw, inner strength or moral virtue. It's not. The truth is, discipline is all about structure.
And the reason we get this so wrong is because we're obsessed with this idea of willpower. But think of willpower like a phone battery. Every single decision you make, every time you resist a temptation, it just drains that battery. So trying to run your life on a resource that is designed to run out is a fundamentally flawed strategy. It's just bound to fail long term.
High performers get this, so they don't try to have more willpower. They build systems instead. And what's so powerful here is the shift in focus, right? It goes from an internal feeling to an external structure. A good system just automates what you need to do. It gets rid of that daily debate in your head about should I or shouldn't I. You just do it. It's already decided.
And this quote just cuts right to the chase. It's so blunt, but so true. If there's something in your life that requires a constant shot of motivation to keep it going, well, its days are numbered. The feeling will eventually fade and the action will stop. The game is to design the action so it doesn't need the feeling in the first place.
So let's move on and see how this signal shows up as a pattern. How does this idea of structure over strength actually appear in the daily lives of elite founders, competitors, and operators? Well, it looks like engineered consistency.
They follow this really simple, repeatable playbook. First, they take a big, fuzzy goal, like build a successful company, and they break it down into concrete, daily routines. Second, they do everything they can to automate those routines and remove any friction. And third, and this is the magic part, that sheer repetition starts to forge their identity. They aren't just doing the work anymore, they become the person who does the work.
And this is the key. You have to get this. Consistency is not a mood you wait for. It is an outcome you build. It's the result of a smart system, not an emotional high. Okay, so how does this whole principle play out in the real world? In high-pressure environments, in competition, in moments of real uncertainty? That brings us to the game, execution without emotion.
The problem is, your feelings are reactive. They're always responding to what just happened a second ago. But winning, being strategic, that requires you to be proactive. It requires you to act based on your plan, not your current mood. If you let feelings drive your actions, you're always playing catch-up.
This quote absolutely nails the operational sequence. Amateurs wait. They wait to feel ready, they wait to feel confident, they wait to feel motivated. Professionals, they just act. They execute the plan, they follow the system, and the confidence, the good feelings, all of that comes after the action. It's a result, not a requirement. Getting this is absolutely crucial. Which leads us to the other side of the coin, the cost. What actually happens to people who don't get this, who stay stuck in the motivation trap?
Well, the answer is pretty stark. It's the people you just can't count on when things get hard. The ones whose performance is totally unpredictable because it's tied to their mood. And in any competitive field, that kind of inconsistency makes you invisible, and then it makes you replaceable.
Let's break down the failure mode. The motivation-driven person just completely stalls out when the initial excitement is gone. They link their progress to their emotions, which makes them incredibly mentally fragile. They're always waiting for some internal permission slip, some feeling to tell them it's okay to act. And what that really means is, for them, progress is always optional.
So what's the alternative?
Well, this is the edge. It's what we call the operator's mindset. And it is a massive cognitive advantage that comes from having a systems-based approach to life.
And this table just lays it all out, side by side. The difference is night and day. Look, the motivated mind sees pressure as a threat, something that's going to drain their emotional battery. The disciplined mind? It just sees pressure as information, a signal to run the system. For the motivated mind, identity is fragile, tied to results. For the disciplined mind, identity is forged in the process itself. Fear makes the motivated mind stop and hesitate. For the disciplined mind, fear is just a cue to trust the training.
And that brings us to our final section, where we're going to turn the analysis back on you. It's time to take a hard look at your own internal operating system with 3 sharp questions about your mental physics.
First question for you. What system actually runs your life? Is your default setting just reacting to things, making decisions based on your emotions? Or is there a deliberate external structure that you rely on to get the results you want, no matter how you're feeling that day?
Second, and be really honest with yourself on this one. What do you actually repeat every day? Not what you plan to do, not what you hope to do. What actions are on autopilot, day in and day out? Because those are the things that are really defining who you are and where you're headed.
And finally, the most piercing question of all. What are you waiting to feel? Are you waiting for motivation? For a jolt of confidence? For permission? Because the core signal of this entire analysis is that the winners act first. The feeling is completely irrelevant to the execution.